We've had a little more time to let that Texans 14-9 loss to the Rams yesterday marinate. Do we feel any differently about the loss? C.J. Stroud said something really interesting after the game. DeMeco Ryans also had some interesting things to say. We're going to blind react to all of it and then raw dog the rest of the sports weekend. What does that mean? Well, I guess you're going to have to find out. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Hello and welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is Monday, September 8th, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, on X and Twitter at Gallant Says, Instagram at Sports Gallant, on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can catch it Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Central Time. We actually almost got started entirely on time today. Or occasionally after major Houston sporting events. It's also available after the fact wherever you get your podcasts, Apple and Spotify. If you haven't already, please smash the like button, the subscribe button, tell a friend. Do the same for the podcast side of things. If you want to cut me off mid-thought, super chat me on YouTube or Twitch, and I'll play this.
Paul, stop talking. Listen.
And get to your comments immediately. But we will eventually get to your comments. After yesterday's Texans loss to the Rams, a very disappointing one, the offense was only able to score 3 field goals. The Texans shot themselves in the foot over and over and over again. We're getting very used to that. Thought we would maybe not see as much of that this season, given that, they had talked all offseason about getting things fixed. That hasn't quite happened yet. So what did the most important Houston Texans have to say about this after the game? Let's take a look. Texans actually post their press conferences to their YouTube channel. Not going to lie. Taking a sneak peek right after the game yesterday and seeing what the comments section was saying. I imagine a lot of Texans fans are waking up and still feeling pissed off. I don't blame you. I think you do have to remember it's the first game of the year, and it's going to take a lot of time for these new pieces to gel. New offensive line, a new offensive coordinator, a new offensive line coach, new wide receivers, a lot of new. But what do they have to say after the game? Let's take a look at the Houston Texans press conference after the game. Right now, I'm essentially just blind firing on this one. I actually have not seen what was said. I've just seen a couple of isolated quotes that came out. Here is Houston Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud at the press conference podium in Los Angeles after the game. We'll get to him in just a moment. This is pretty cool. And let's make sure we're actually playing this thing online. Paul, you're such an amateur. You're doing this on the fly. Yeah, I am. I'm doing this on the fly. I watched last night's Bills-Ravens game, okay? Cut me some slack. Here is your Houston Texans quarterback.
Allow them to limit Nico in particular and other deep balls.
Just play shell, a lot of tamper two, a lot of disguise, cover two, and played over the top. So they did a good job of that. But I feel like we were executing in ways, but just some of those negative plays that we got to just fix. But I thought we moved the ball pretty well, but just got to just put it in the end zone or try to create an explosive somehow. But yeah, we'll be seeing that all year, so we got to get used to it.
So let's react to that first part. The offense did move the ball, but I mean, they only got into the red zone once all of Sunday, and then they fumbled basically a play later. The Texans ended up settling for field goals from Kaimi Fairbairn of 51, 45, and 53. Did they move the football from time to time? Sure, but it's a 3 field goal performance. And I think you can tell just taking a look at Stroud's body language here. He's pissed. Good. He should be. Everyone involved in yesterday's operation should be mad about how this thing went down. More from Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, I know that you all have the next man up mentality, but what is the difference from a quarterback's perspective when you're so used to playing with one set of offensive linemen?
Pause for a second. I got to say, this question is almost giving C.J. Stroud excuses in the midst of the answer. Let's let the question continue.
And picked up their tendencies. They know your tendencies, and then all of that gets shuffled within a matter of days.
Yeah, it's not easy, It's something that just, what, you're going to complain about it, or you're just, or you're going to lay down, or you're going to go play. So for me, I just try to compete, as best as I can and show those guys that I don't care who's in there, like, I trust in you. And by the way I play, I try to play as hard as I can to show that I'm there for them, and also vocally as well. So, but yeah, even, our receiver a little bit, we got some guys, hopefully coming back, hopefully soon. So, yeah, it's not always easy, but, that's why I'm in the position I am, to try to, solve some of those issues, because everybody deals with injuries. But, I think I've, tried to do my best at that.
Look, they had some bad luck going into this game injury-wise. Some very bad luck. Christian Kirk has the hamstring issue. He doesn't get to play in the game. You have the last-minute scratch of Ed Ingram before the game at right guard, which meant that Titus Howard at right tackle moved to right guard. You ended up moving Cam Robinson from the bench to left tackle. He hasn't practiced a whole lot this offseason, especially in training camp, dealing with an injury. You moved Ariante Ursary to right tackle. Then all of a sudden there's an injury to Robinson or a cramp to Robinson, so you move Blake Fisher in. He put him in at right tackle. You move Ariante Ursary, who's a rookie playing his first game, back to left tackle. Jake Andrews got hurt, so you have to put Jared Patterson in. And I know that a lot of people are tempted to say, hey, well, injuries, all that, yada, yada, yada. But CJ's right. Injuries do happen. No excuses made here. No one's going to feel bad for you. Got to figure it out. If Stroud is going to be the quarterback that we all think he's capable of being, he's got to raise the level of play around him. Here's more from C.J. Stroud after yesterday's loss in Los Angeles.
Any experience that you have, and obviously didn't come up with the results that you wanted today, but what do you take from this game to be able to learn from it and come back stronger in week 2?
Yeah, I take just negative plays. I think it's kind of obvious. We can't shoot ourselves in the foot consistently and expect to win. And that starts with me, with a lot of different things. I got to get rid of the ball better and, use my legs maybe a little more. But, yeah, I think, there's a lot of hope still. We did a lot of good things. It's a really good defense, it's a really good team. But I definitely think we could have won. But just you can shoulda, woulda, coulda all day. We didn't deserve to win that game because we didn't do the right things. So when you come out in NFL lollygagging and not going through the motions, that kind of happens. So I think we'll be all right. But I think it's a good wake-up call for us.
That is a very interesting last part of that quote. Because he continues to say, look, I think we did some good things. But he said they came out lollygagging and that it's a wake-up call. Now, I think every Houston Texans fan will agree that the wake-up call should have been all of last year. And I understand there's some new parts on this team. But the shooting yourself in the foot problem, an epidemic for these Texans, it's been a problem for a while. And, a lot of people got mad at me when I asked this question last year about DeMeco Ryans and where he's eventually going to rank among head coaches in the NFL. But I mean, you got to clean this stuff up. And if you're a player-friendly coach, is it maybe not something that cleans itself up as quickly as it needs to be because you've got a coach who's got empathy and understands that mistakes get made instead of some hard ass like Bud Kilmer in Varsity Blues. And I'm not saying any approach is necessarily right. I'm just saying we have been seeing the same thing happen with this Texans team for over a year. Clearly, the messaging from the coaching to the players isn't getting them to correct the mistakes quickly. So why? And I don't know the answer to that. The Texans have to figure that out on their own. Everyone behind the scenes, they've got to figure it out. Will they? We'll see. Here's more C.J. Stroud at the podium after yesterday's loss.
Didn't you talk about using the leg? You did that today. And you also seem like you made a few checkdowns, use different players. Something you're feeling more comfortable with?
Yeah, definitely. I try to use my athleticism as best I can, and I tell those guys if you're open, you'll get the ball. So those guys, I think, did a good job, and getting separation in routes. But I think there's a lot of growing to do still there.
What do you feel like? You mentioned that you feel like it was a wake-up call. Why do you feel like today's outing was kind of a wake-up call for you guys?
I just think the way we practiced this week, I think we could have practiced better. I think, I love the confidence we had, but there's I always say there's like a type of mindset is like, did I do enough? And I think that's a healthy way to be because then you'll probably do more. So I just, for me, preparing, I got to do a better job. And I also got to hold my guys accountable, for that one exotic look. And it's the first game of the year. We got a lot of exotic looks we did not expect. They did too, but they made the play. So you can come with a million excuses. We got to just be better.
That's the politest way to call out your team for the week of preparation. You heard it from him right there. He didn't like what he saw at practice. I like hearing that from him. He didn't do it in a dickish way at the podium. I'm sure he's going to have this conversation with his teammates in the locker room. Probably had it already. On the flight back from LA to Houston, I'm sure there were more conversations had. But you heard him talk about that right there. Talking about how he didn't like what he saw. I'm talking about confidence, and maybe he's implying there was some overconfidence for the Texans going into this game. And look. All these changes happened in the offseason. Things were so bad for the team the year before. I guess I can see how some things maybe slipped through the cracks. But again, I would just look at every single Houston Texan. If I'm one of those guys, I'm going to the mirror and I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck did this happen again? How? How is there a bad week of practice leading up to a team that nearly beat the Super Bowl champs last season? I see some people getting frustrated with the idea that, hey, the Rams are a good team. You're not always going to beat the best teams in the NFL. And I get that pushback because it does feel like for the Texans, they never beat the best teams in the NFL. There's a tier where they can beat teams. But last year, the only team that they were able to do that against was the Buffalo Bills. And that Bills game, too, I mean, they gave the Bills every single opportunity to get back in there. And ask the Ravens how that goes after last night's incredible Sunday Night Football game. Things have to be crisper, and this team has to be more focused. And I agree with Stroud right there saying, you got to look at yourself. I'm going to try to play this specific part of the clip again so you can hear from his words, not from mine.
This week, I think we could have practiced better. I think, I love the confidence we had, but there's I always say there's like a type of mindset is like, did I do enough? And I think that's a healthy way to be because then you'll probably do more.
Pause. This is a mindset I have, and I constantly feel like I'm not doing enough. In fact, this morning I got up at 5:30. I'm trying to do this regularly at 6 a.m., and I almost didn't do it. I almost pressed the snooze button again. But I always have this feeling that I'm not doing enough in my own job. Am I posting enough YouTube clips? Am I doing enough live streams? Am I watching enough games? And I don't like that mentality. It sucks to never be satisfied with anything that you do. But in a game as competitive as football, I want my entire team to have that mindset. And I think Stroud's implying here that that's not necessarily everybody on the Houston Texans. Hugh Dab hanging out on the Twitch at Gallant says, the grind is real for Mr. Gallant. Hell yeah. We're very excited that football is back. I have so many sound effects. We're going to try to incorporate new ones over the course of the new era of the Gallant Says podcast, which we're probably going to roll until 7 a.m. weekday mornings. So basically, just so you can tune into John and Lance. And also, I'm going to do some of my show prep with you, in front of you. Because I'll be honest, there's some things I still have to figure out, like what happened over the weekend. Yesterday, I watched the Patriots play the Raiders. Oh, great. The Patriots are still bad. Fuck. My Florida Gators lost to South Florida. Shout out to South Florida. I've always had a little appreciation for South Florida. I used to go to games there in Florida when I was in high school. But that sucked. Texans lost. That sucked. Syracuse almost lost to UConn. I guess they won, but they're running wind sprints after the game. So I focused on all the teams that I generally cover football-wise. Not a great football weekend for me. Astros lost 2 of 3. We'll get to that. I don't even know what happened in any of those games. So we're gonna blind it. We're gonna blind to it, you know. Anyway, UW, thanks for stopping by. More from C.J. Stroud, Texans quarterback, after yesterday's game.
A long-term problem that you can get it back.
Yeah, I thought the quick pass game was efficient. I thought the run game was efficient in ways.
The run game did look good. I'm not gonna lie. I liked what I saw out of Nick Chubb yesterday.
There's a lot of things that I think we didn't get to because of the negative play. So Nick kind of had his hands tied around his back. You know, it's hard to operate in 2nd and 20 and, you know, those type of systems. And, you know, that's something that, sadly, we've gotten used to, and we got to fix that here. We can't expect to win close games like that. So, and we got to just make plays. You know, I think they made more plays than us. We got to come down with you know, just better urgency, I think.
Better urgency. It's not something we should be hearing after the way things went down last year. It's not. We've heard this far too much. And you got a Monday night game coming up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that a lot of people have made a trendy Super Bowl pick. You just played a team that almost beat the Eagles in the playoffs last year on the road in the snow, despite getting absolutely gashed by Saquon Barkley. There's just no excuse for a playoff caliber team to not have a sense of urgency at any point during an NFL season. None. More from C.J. Stroud.
You mentioned that you got coming to the line now, you got a lot more freedom to do. Was there enough situation where you sort of like the check me, and when you got to the line, it was just a situation that everything just didn't pan out enough, what you felt like that you could have had enough check me to make some changes at the line when they presented a different front from what you was expecting?
We did everything we thought we were going to do. Yeah, so yeah, it was pretty on at least the passing game. They had the fronts we thought they were going to have, and I did it correctly. I think we missed. I missed one or two, and those are the points in the game where, you know, so I got to do a better job of being in control up there and helping those guys out to get the IDs correct. So, yeah, but other than that, I thought we did a decent job at it. I missed about 2. So, but I think, like, then again, and I'm not trying to come with excuses, but it's our first game, first time in the system. We'll be better, and I trusted my guys. It would be all right.
I agree with Stroud on that front. It is the first game in the system. And if you've been listening to me talking about it on the radio show, I'm not being a Bobo blowjobber like a lot of the aggregator accounts on there. And by the way, I have no issue with those guys. They do what they do. I do what I do. I'm perhaps too cynical and skeptical at times, but I think a lot of people were going into this year with the expectation that because of all the new things, that things were just going to come easily. And no. Credit to Stroud for calling himself out here, but I actually like that he called out some of his teammates here too. I think you have to after a game like this. Inexcusable. Just too much slop, too much shooting yourself in the foot. I can understand the offense taking a while to become the offense that we all hope it can be, but come on. More from Stroud.
How much, I mean, obviously you want to get a win today, but how much does it help to have this game now done and you can see real game that counts, kind of really to evaluate where you guys are and the tweaks that you got to make?
I think it's good. It's early. There's.
I'll pause, and I love Kimmy Davis, but I would just say this, like, that should have happened all of last year. I mean, obviously, I think DeMeco Ryans kind of vented about this last week during some of the media availabilities. He said, hey, at this point, it's just talk. It's just talk. Let's actually play the games. And they played the game, and we saw what they are, and we saw what they have to work on. But, I mean, it's a lot of the same from last year, and that part is bothering me. Should bother you too.
A bunch of upside. I think we could possibly have. I always try to think positively and give ourselves a little grace. But also, there's some urgency, and there's some things we need to fix. So I know the conversations will be hard, and we'll be hard on each other. But I think it's a good thing. It's where friction is I think that's love. So I want to see all my teammates do well. And I think, when there's friction in that, I think sometimes it's a good thing, just in a positive way. So.
Being a SoCal kid, what's it like being back here playing in front of your fans?
Oh, it was cool, man. I was, very blessed. Just riding in, seeing, places where I used to go growing up, fields I used to play at, high schools and stuff like that. I think it's, amazing. I love where I'm from. I love my village, and I think, the state of California has really backed me in a lot of ways. So very grateful for that. And, I love LA, but, wish I got a dub here.
Some of these questions are like moral support questions. Yeah, I mean, I get it. There's a story, but none of the story should be about Stroud's homecoming unless he throws for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards, and they win.
When you kind of felt like the urgency wasn't there, or wasn't at the level you needed it to be at least as an offense, what did you just kind of do to try to get that jump started to get the urgency more there from the offense?
Yeah, for me, I think in those type of moments, there's things vocally that need to be said. But I think, for me, execution breeds energy. So, like, when you're not executing, who is going to be smiling and running around, having energy? You got to execute. So,
he said that a lot last year, too.
I think that's the point, is like the execution goes up, the energy goes up. And even in times, because it's NFL, they get paid too. We're not going to always be on the other side of good. We got to have a certain type of tenacity and grit to push past the negativity and push past the negative plays. And I think we'll do a better job at that.
Seems like you did a good job.
Said that all last year.
Evading pressure often. What were you saying, or what did you feel like allowed you to be able to do that?
Yeah, these first games, I think for me, you never know what they're going to do. They could be doing their old stuff. They could try new things. They could be. It was the same coordinator, but it could be a new coordinator. For me, first games, I always just trust my instincts, trust my training, trust my fundamentals, trust my God-given talent, and I think that helps me to play faster and to have a little bit of swag out there. And I think I kind of did that today. So hopefully keep that up. But yeah, just early on in the season, before you get like a real rapport or like idea what the defense is doing, you got to just play with your instincts.
Thank you.
All right. That was C.J. Stroud. Now let's take a look at what DeMeco Ryans had to say after the game. Stroud, in case you're just tuning in, said that he felt the team was lollygagging around during yesterday's game, and he also called out the week of practice. Is that going to make things better over a long week before their Monday Night Football home opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? We shall see. Now, here is head coach DeMeco Ryans after yesterday's game. We are reacting to this in the moment.
DeMeco, what went into the decision to go with the offensive line unit the way it is instead of just, I guess, switching juice for
Yeah, our offensive line was our offensive line. We had 5 guys we had out there that were up, and injuries unfortunately happened throughout the week, so shuffling will take place. That's the NFL. That's the nature of the league. Guys go down. You have to move guys around, and we don't complain about it. It's, hey, you got to show up and just get your job done.
How difficult could it be for a guy?
I'm sure he's already tired of being asked about the offensive line, and you heard some of it last week, and here he is being asked about it. He is right. I get the frustration here. I mean, shit, you go into the game, and Ed Ingram, you got to scratch him last second at your right guard, and you move Titus Howard from right tackle to right guard, and then you move Ariante Ursary from left tackle to right tackle, and you move Cam Robinson into left tackle, and then Cam Robinson has a cramp or something like that, so Robinson leaves the game, and Blake Fisher moves to right tackle, and then Ariante Ursary moves back to left tackle, and then Robinson's fine. This is all on the same drive, and he comes back in, and Ursary moves over the right tackle, but not before Blake Fisher held a guy by the face mask, and then Jake Andrews is in at center, and then Jake Andrews dealt with some injury that caused him to get carted off out of the medical tent, and then Jared Patterson's in at center. So you have to make what you have on the offensive line work, and I think the hope is by the end of the year that this offensive line is going to be competent. I'll give him this. I felt like the running game wasn't awful. I think Nick Chubb looked pretty good, and considering there was no Joe Mixon, I think a lot of people were concerned that this was going to be tough for them to run the ball all year. So that was at the very least promising. But I empathize with DeMeco's frustration constantly getting asked about the offensive line. More Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans.
He was that left tackle majority of camp post West Virginia. I think it's kind of switched that right last minute. How difficult could that be for him?
Ariante has played both left and right tackle all throughout training camp. He's done a nice job of it.
Look at that smile. He's so sick of it. I thought Ursary did pretty well in his first game. There was one play on the right where he got bowled over by a Rams defensive lineman. There's another play in run blocking where I saw him absolutely pancake some fucker. So it's his first game in the NFL. I think all things considered, he looked pretty good.
As an offense, finishing some of the things.
And I'm not an offensive line expert. Just want to make that clear. Haven't watched the All-22 because I'm not a dork.
Good things that were started. Where do you feel like progress can be made?
Yeah, for us, offensively, in the first half, I mean, we drove down. We got field goals. We needed to get in the end zone there, but we had some really successful drives. Just got to end in the end zone. And then there, at the end of the game, it's the NFL, right? Fourth quarter. That's why everybody watches it. We got the ball. We got a chance to drive down and score. We're making progress. We're making plays. And the one thing that we talked about, the main thing throughout the week of what it was going to take for us to win this game, it was protecting the football. Right? They took the ball away 2 times and took it at the most critical time of the game there as we were driving down to score. They make a play to take the football away, but we're in striking distance. We don't make the play. They made the play. Credit to the Rams. They showed up, and they played really well today, and they made the plays, and we came up short on a few.
I mean, that one's the real tough one. Dario Gumbawale is very respected in the Texans locker room because of all the things that he does. He's great in pass protection. He's got pretty good hands. He plays special teams. He kicks when you need him. He's one of those jack-of-all-trades players, and a guy like that can't fumble. He can't. And especially right after that catch and run to set the Texans up in the red zone for the first time. I do not know why Ogunbowale on a first down decided to put the ball out like that to make it easier for Landman to punch it out. you can't do that, you know? I'm a big believer. It's one of the reasons I don't think that the NFL's touchback rule should be changed. If you fumble the ball going into the end zone because you're reaching out, that's on you. And you got to be smart with it. There are situations that you got to remember. You're still going to have opportunities to score. And the Texans had all 3 of their timeouts there, and it was first down. It was weird urgency, and it just made it easier for Landman to punch it out with the way that he dove forward. You got to protect the football, you know? If that was 4th down, I would get it. If it was 3rd down, I would get it a little less, but I would still get it. If it was the end of the game, I would get it. I don't get it there. You know, they had all the momentum and they just coughed it up, literally. More DeMeco Ryans.
Go out there, go for the 11 penalties. Those look like they really altered drives as well.
Yeah, the penalties it's uncalled for, right? It's all controllable, things we can control. And you know, if you stand up here and we're talking about negative plays, talking about going backwards, this is not what we talked about. Main thing offensively, wanted to stay on track, right? And we got some unfortunate penalties that put us behind the sticks and just put us in some really long 3rd downs that we weren't not able to manage. But so we have to clean up the penalties.
Yes, they do.
Initial drive in the 3rd quarter, you know, coming out from the locker room, did that alter what y'all wanted to do or tried to do, make from the adjustment standpoint? And after they scored, did that sort of alter anything? Because it looked like y'all stalled in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, well, they made some plays. We of course we made adjustments there in the second half. They came out, they scored, they went down and scored on us. Not how we were expecting to come out. Like, we gotta stand up and make a play there, and they got us. And it goes back to us on defense. Main thing was just eye discipline. Right? We didn't play with great eye discipline, so they made plays when our eyes were not in the right spot. We're looking in the backfield, they're throwing the football. Guess what? The guy's going to be wide open. So that's things that we control, and that's the main thing about this game. Rams did a good job, but there are a lot of things that we control: penalties, eye discipline, just the urgency. We control all of that.
Coach, what made it so difficult when it came to defending against guys like DeMeco?
It is interesting there, hearing DeMeco talk about specifically defensively what they did wrong, and you can tell he's annoyed there. The penalty thing, it just can't keep happening like this. And it's a direct reflection on DeMeco Ryans, for better, not for better, for worse. It's just a direct reflection on DeMeco Ryans. Why does this continue to happen? Why did it happen as much as it did last year, you know? It just keeps happening over and over and over again. More from Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans after yesterday's loss to the Rams in L.A.
Especially the wide receiver core.
Yeah, Puka made some plays. I think Puka, he did a nice job today making some plays, and credit to him, he's a good player.
Coach, you talk about go ahead.
I don't know how Puka Nacua kept on making those plays. Texans have a pretty good secondary. Brett Hoppenwasser asks, how's Stingley? I turned the game off after that play. He came back in. Stingley played the entirety of the game. And to my knowledge, unless there's something else that happened, I think he's fine. I thought in that moment right there, oh boy. If you turned off that early, though, that was pretty early, I think, when Stingley got hurt. So, how Puka Nacua seemed to be one-on-one against Jalen Petrie as often as he did. I don't know how the Texans' game plan fell to that point, but on 3rd and 8, you know, I get you're expecting a run. You can't have a guy who's not great in man-to-man coverage looking like he's responsible for the Rams' best weapon that game. That's probably a moment where Kamari Laster's got to be shadowing him. If you got Derek Stingley on Devontae Adams, which felt like was happening a lot of the game.
Can you talk about just how CJ played? I mean, I know ultimately you want to win, but there's a lot of talk about him having more control. He seemed to move the ball to various people. What do you think about him?
I thought CJ played really nice. He made some nice plays for us. Really, at the end of the half, I thought it was very impressive on a 2-minute drive to drive down and get us in field goal range. Him tucking the ball, running it, getting us in field goal range. Really heads-up play, smart play by him. Really managed the offense well, made some nice throws, and unfortunately, we came up short. He made some nice plays under pressure. And they got us on a few as well, but that happens. But I'm really proud of the way CJ played.
Coach, talk about it.
Really proud of the way CJ played. I mean, look, DeMeco loves CJ. If I'm a young head coach and I've got a quarterback that's got a lot of talent, I'm probably going to say all the right things about that quarterback. I'm not going to do what, if you watch the Cowboys documentary, it seemed like Barry Switzer was doing with Troy Aikman, and what Troy Aikman, vice versa, was doing about Barry Switzer. Or what Jimmy Johnson earlier on in that was doing with Troy Aikman before they had their let's get aquariums and hang out bro bonding moment. Stroud wasn't bad. Are you proud of that performance? Some of the sacks that he took where it felt like the pocket presence wasn't there. You know, I get that you got a lot of new offensive linemen out there, but you can't be taking 10-yard sacks. Oak Tree asks, are you filibustering? You talking about me? You talking about DeMeco? I don't know. I'm a pretty good filibuster, I'm told. More from Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans after yesterday's loss.
Next man up mentality all the time with your team. But how difficult is it for a quarterback like C.J. Stroud, who has been playing with a certain group and gotten used to their tendencies, they've gotten used to his tendencies, and then all of a sudden, all that becomes different because of the injuries and the things that you have to shuffle. Does that make it harder on him?
Not for me, Sarge. It's injuries happen. Guys go down all the time. Like, do we not show up? Do we put the ball away and go home? Like, we compete. It doesn't matter who's out there. All right, whatever the job is, whatever the assignment is called for, man, we're NFL players. You got to man up and be able to do your job. So we don't complain. We don't make excuses for guys having to be shuffled, injuries happening. You don't make excuses for that. That happens all across the league every year. It's just about, man, whoever steps up in that spot, like, how are you owning your opportunity? Right, man? You should be thankful and grateful to have that opportunity to step in and show that you're ready for that challenge. You're ready for whatever takes place. And so no complaining. Just keep pressing forward.
Love Sarge. I hated that question. Hated it. DeMeco responds, and he's got a rapport with Sarge. I hate it because of this. I just feel like with young quarterbacks in today's NFL, it just feels like the local guys are always looking at what's around a quarterback as opposed to looking at the quarterback and expecting the quarterback to elevate the talent around. Specifically at receiver, but also with the offensive lineman. And again, you can only do so much. It is a team game. But sometimes, and the worst example of this has been what's been happening in Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson before he got benched for Daniel Jones. It's like, hey, nothing else matters except for the quarterback, and you accommodate the situation for the quarterback. Sometimes you're going to be shorthanded. It's the NFL. Guys get hurt all the time, you know? All the time. Don J828 says the whole team played like shit. That includes CJ. Like shit is extreme. They shot themselves in the foot a lot, but playing like shit, you lose that game by a couple of scores. You had a chance to win this at the end, despite the mistakes. And I think that, going back to last year, a continuation of last year, that is what sucks the most about this game. Here's more Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans.
That's how the defense played overall.
The defense, I think overall, third down was not good enough for me. We had some opportunities to
Rams converted over 50% of their third down, so I'm with DeMeco there.
Get off on third down, and they made plays, and we didn't. I think that's where kind of got out of hand for us there. One thing we talked about is tackling there on the fourth down play. We got a chance to stop them there, 4th and 1 on their goal line. We're in good position. We just got to make the tackle, right? Things we talked about, just tackling, right, being sticky in coverage and making the plays when we needed to make the plays.
Ideally, would you like to, with what you saw, that sample size, involve Nick Chubb perhaps even more going forward?
I will go back and look at the film. I seen a couple runs where Nick definitely ran the ball well. He did a good job of gaining some yardage, which we've seen him do multiple times. He's not surprising anyone.
He looked good. Chubb did look good. I'm actually encouraged by Nick Chubb's performance. Chubb and Kaimi Fairbairn have nothing to be ashamed about coming out of this game.
Great player, and of course, we'd love to see him get going more.
About Hutchinson and how he was able to be a really good target for C.J.
Yeah, Hutchinson, he's been showing up since OTAs, training camp. He's been showing up, making plays, so it doesn't surprise me that he's the guy that CJ connects with and makes plays for us, right? Him had a nice run on the jet sweep there. Hutch is one of our hardest workers. He's always working, always showing up, guy you can count on.
Let me go a few more. Was there any thought in challenging the interception by Kobe Durant? And then I'll ask a second.
I saw the interception there. It was right in front of me. Kid made a nice play on the football, so there was not a thought to challenge it because I was right there in front and saw the kid made a really nice play.
I mean, in DeMeco's defense, don't they automatically review takeaways? He didn't have to challenge that, you know? Ball did move at the end of the play, but I don't think that's on DeMeco.
How much did the Rams taking away Nico and the lack of explosive plays do you think played a part in not scoring touchdowns?
It doesn't matter what happens. Like, whoever is taken away, we got 11 guys out there. So the Rams defense, they did a nice job, but did we execute well enough? No. We had penalties, moved ourselves backwards, a couple things there we can definitely control. So credit to them, but we can play better all across the board.
CJ did a nice job of keeping you guys in the game and not making any, mistakes. Just what have you seen in terms of his progression to be more better in decision-making, stuff like that?
Yeah, CJ, man, he works at it. He works at his craft. He's a really good player, really like what he's done for us. He gave us a chance there to win the game. That's what, to be a top quarterback in this league, that's what you have to do. It's going to be a 2-minute drive. Can you drive down, put yourself in position to score and go score? CJ has that capability. We just have to finish it.
Coach, what is the conversation
Some comments here. Don J says, I think CJ needs to scramble more, especially if his offensive line isn't good enough. He needs to get rid of the ball and stop taking sacks for a loss. Well, he's got to stay in the pocket. And I think there were a couple of times where, to what you're saying, the big sacks for a loss, he stepped out of the pocket. I know that the color commentator for yesterday's game actually brought that up at one point. He said, hey, you got a pocket right there. Stay in it, stand tall, go through your progressions, and work the football down the field. He didn't do that, at least in that spot. So I think you want Stroud to be in the pocket more, and you do want him to use his legs. And, hey, Stroud actually did a pretty good job scrambling from time to time, but you don't want to force it either. You don't want to become, Justin Fields or some of these other quarterbacks who are looking to run first. More DeMeco Ryans after yesterday's game.
That you had with Dare, we know that he is one of those players that he wears his heart on his sleeve and he gives you his all for, that unfortunate play that happened at the end of the game.
Yeah, Dare, veteran player for us, captain. That's one of those moments. What do you say? You don't have to say anything. Like, everyone. I'm with
DeMeco there. I'm sure, and I know Dare talked about it after the game. We'll find the clip of that. I think Aaron Wilson posted it, but he knows he fucked up. It's really just a matter of why? Why did he? But that's the reason they lost.
One knows how hurt he is. I know his pain. I know what he's feeling. It's a tough moment. He's been one of our most dependable guys. And the Rams kid made a nice play, put his hat on the football, bang, bang play. Really nice play by them, right? So it's Dare, he'll bounce back. He'll continue to do. He made a nice play there to get us down in striking distance. So that's the nature of the league, right? But no one's more hurt about that than Dare.
Coach, you used a lot of you guys use different guys from the running back position. Is that the thought that because of the depth there that you'll use more players?
For sure, we have a lot of depth. 3 guys, we feel 4 guys that can run the ball and make plays for us. So it's a thought to get all those guys some touches, try to keep our guys as fresh as possible.
Did see some Woody Marks. Did see some Damian Pierce. I think some people are frustrated with Pierce. Some promising signs from Marks. But, yeah, I think you want to keep Chubb especially as fresh as possible now. Because if Chubb goes down, your running game is probably gone.
You showed a tendency, that was a tendency y'all got, particularly with Nick being tough inside there. Was that a lack of consistency, maybe going back to that? Because when y'all shown that Nick could get that inside tough yardage, that seemed where his best plays were coming from the inside. Was it something y'all want to stick to, or just something that's just the way it is because of the Rams being that type of front that they had?
Yeah, I thought we could have stuck with it more. You saw that's where our plays were made, where Nick was running the football down the middle. We had good double team, good movement up front. So something we have to look at again, just see what we can stick to and what do we execute best to give ourselves the best chance to win the game. But
I think they should have run the football more. If there's any second guessing about the offensive play calling.
Nick did a really nice job.
Talking about Nick Caley there, of course.
On Jake Andrews, so much concern is there. Obviously, we're against Cardinal, it's usually.
Yeah, Jake had a foot injury, so we'll be monitoring that and evaluating a little bit more throughout the week.
Last one, DJ.
How would you just kind of assess how your D-line played against their O-line? How would you also assess how your O-line played against their D-line?
Yeah, we'll go back and watch the film. I thought overall our D-line created pressure, but Stafford did a really nice job, as he's done all his career, man, of getting the ball out fairly quickly, right? And we have to be stickier in coverage to make him hold the ball a little bit longer. But our D-line, man, they got after it like it was expected.
I thought the D-line
and our,
did well
our
too.
front, we had some good plays. Again, they made some plays versus us too and I think we would love to have back. But two really good fronts. Their defensive line, our defensive line, two good fronts, and they both for the strength today.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
So there you go. That's DeMeco Ryans, head coach of the Houston Texans. I did want to see if we could get, before we turn things over, because what I'm going to do going forward, if we do get up on time, is we're going to do this show until 7, and then I'm going to encourage you guys to go check out John and Lance on ESPN Houston, which is the radio channel that I work at. Let's take a look at Aaron Wilson. We're blind responding to all of this. God damn, Aaron Wilson's already got 17,000 followers on there. I guess he did not post. Hang on a second. Let's see. Maybe he posted this on X. We'll find it. Don't you worry. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, child, child. Sunday.
It's through the play, obviously. You just made a positive play, and then you had, unfortunately, you got a hand on the football and got it out.
Yeah. It was punched the ball out. It's a bad play. My job is to protect the ball. I didn't protect the ball, so it was unfortunate play. Bad timing especially, but I got to protect the ball right there.
When you have a play like that, how do you move on from it? Do you kind of try to compartmentalize it, maybe not beat yourself up so much that it becomes like something you dwell on, where you can kind of move to the next thing?
Yeah, of course not. I mean, I can't labor on it too long. It's definitely, like I said, an unlucky play. A play that I would love to have back. My job is to protect the ball, like I said. So definitely got to move on from it, but correct it.
Pause for a moment. I would beat myself up about that play for the rest of my life. So, yeah, you do have to move on to the next week. I would be this age right now thinking about that fumble, that big fumble that lost a game in high school, even if it wasn't a playoff game. I would be thinking about that for the rest of my life and consider myself a failure because of it. Built different.
Do you think that you actually protected the ball well, and he just made a better play?
I mean, he made a great play, but no. I mean, anytime the ball comes out, it's my job to protect the ball. So if the ball comes out, I didn't do a good job protecting it. So that's unacceptable, especially in our running back room, the standard that we have. Unacceptable.
Does it feel like this game, as much as it's disappointing, that you guys could build from this game?
No question. No question. Anytime you lose like that, especially week one, a lot of things we can work on to go on the run. Definitely things we can build on. But like you said, it's a fortunate loss.
All right, just the mentality, man. You guys moved so well down the field and looked like you had every chance to win it. What was kind of the mentality in the huddle there? Did you feel like you were going to go ahead and close it out?
For sure. Every time we're in the huddle, every time CJ tells us to play, we think it's going to be a successful play. We think it'll be a successful drive. Like I said, just poor ball security on my part, and can't happen.
So there you go. That's Dare Ogunbowale. That's the reason they lost the game. Anyway, appreciate y'all joining me this morning. We're going to try to do this on a daily basis from 6 to 7 a.m. Central Time, leading into John and Lance on ESPN Houston, which is the radio station I host a show on from noon to 3. Hope you check that out a little bit later today. We're going to be sifting through this loss, everything else that went down over the NFL weekend, and talking about the Astros as well. Some quick thoughts here. Solis9975 said the defense played great. Like usual, offense is solid. Scary to see Josh Daniels. I think you mean Daniel Jones score 30 on the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a fucking mess. Don't worry about that. I'm not worried about the Colts playing well against the Dolphins. I'm not. But I'm going to have to watch the highlights to see just how good Daniel Jones looked. Payne Moore says the offense as a whole, the people that need to be held accountable, whether the defense can make improvements or not, similar to last year, the offense lost this game. The hope is that the new offensive coordinator, the new offensive line, and everything else gels, the new receivers over the course of the year. But you're right. Last comment of the show from Christian Velez. It's funny how high our standards have changed the last 6 years. 2019, we started off 0-3. We were still optimistic. 2018, that was the year they started off 0-3. I actually disagree. I think most people were out on the Texans despite a 9-game winning streak after going 0-3. We go 0-1 to a top 2 team in the NFC. It's time to sell the team LOL. I do think that everyone needs to take a deep breath and realize the Rams are a really good team that almost beat the Eagles in the playoffs last year. They came closer than anybody to beating the Eagles in the playoffs. Appreciate you all so much. Please like this video, subscribe if you're watching for the first time and you like what you saw. I'm also on Twitch at Gallant Says, on X/Twitter at Gallant Says, Instagram at Sports Gallant, TikTok at Gallant Says, and on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. There's also a podcast. You can listen to this entire thing after the fact, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify, plus my immediate thoughts after yesterday's game. If you're more of an audio listener, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating. It means so much. Maybe even leave a review as well. I'll be doing a radio show from noon to 3 today. Until then, so long, farewell.